If you're chronically online like me, you've realized that the video game industry is going to hell. With massive amounts of layoffs, games being half broken or straight up scams, and companies being greedier than ever, with some games being up to $80 and being stuck with microtransactions and live service slop. But in that darkness, there is a light. That light being the indie video game scene. The indie scene has been thriving this year with many stunning and innovative games like Balatro, Animal Well, Another Crab's Treasure, Crow Country, Children of the Sun, Home Safety Hotline, Little Kitty Big Cities, Pepper Grinder, Buckshot Roulette, Mullet Mad Jack, Kinito Pet, 4D Golf, Nine Soul, Penny's Big Bakery, Turtle Boy Robs a Ba- You get the point. But I'm not talking about those kinds of indie games. Instead, I'm talking about smaller indies. Games that are not really commercial products and more just a thing that someone made, an experience that's just waiting to be dived into. So I went to itch.io, a website for indie devs and teams of all ranges to upload their games and support each other. I went headfirst into the chasm of video games that they had and came back with a multitude of experimental, weird, and unique fun games that range from a couple minutes to hours of gameplay. I linked all the games and the creators in the description, so if you see any games that pique your interest, you can go over and support them. All of these games are free to download, but I would encourage you, if you could, to throw a couple dollars towards some of these devs, because all of them put hard work into it, and we should, of course, be supporting smaller teams and giving as much support, because that support goes a long way. Speaking of support, you can support me by subscribing and leaving a comment on this video if you find this interesting and like this. Anyways, we'll get out of the selfless plugging. Let's get into the video, the actual thing you want to watch. Okay, yeah, okay. Clam Man 2. Ever wanted to quit your corporate job and become a comedian? Well, now you can do it virtually as a half clam, half man thing. This game is only a demo for a much larger game, but there's so much to do with just the opening. The game plays somewhat as a sillier and more lighthearted version of Disco Elysium. Your whole goal is to go around town and talk to people to get material for your stand-up. But of course, along the way, there's other tasks to do, like help promote the new comedy bar, or figure out why there's a woolly mammoth in an alley. The game is brimming with a lot of unique characters to interact with and learn about, and a lot of choices to make with your Clam Man to turn him into whatever disaster you want him to be. Mobility. A tight, simple platformer with challenges for all kinds of players. You are a spaceship mechanic that teleports from ship to ship to fix them, with each room being a platforming level where you have to touch all the physical platforms in order to fix that area. There are 4 different ways to play a level. There's Radius, Contact, Vanish, and Growth. Radius is where you can just simply be in the area of the platform. You don't need to touch it, just zoom by it, and that's enough to fix it. Contact is simple enough, with just having to land your stubby little legs on each of the platforms. Vanish adds some challenge, with the platforms going away after you hop off of them, making the player rethink how to approach a level and to get to each platform easily. Lastly, you have Growth, which is pure torture. This turns the platforms into instant death traps after you touch them and become obstacles that you have to deal with the whole time. Of course, you may be wondering, well, what's the point of these modes and, fixing the ship? And to that I say, I don't know. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure that if you play the harder level variations, it fixes the ship faster, making you have to play less levels and, go to different ships. But what's cooler is the fact that there's a timer, which means speed racing, zoom, showing everyone on the internet that I have a small number. Yay! Even without the different modes, the game seems to progress more and more with adding new challenges or obstacles. My only complaint with the game is that it feels like not all the levels are made for every mode. I mean, it may just be a skill issue, but sometimes I just kind of look at it and I'm like, how? Like how? But overall, it's a nice movement platformer to chill or challenge yourself with. You have to win this game. This is a Metroidvania that looks like an old DOS game. You explore this spiraling map full of different environments and enemies, and of course along the way get different upgrades, whether that be for your little person getting a double jump or a wall slide, or more environmental upgrades like red and blue blocks giving you new platforms. All of the upgrades let you traverse to new areas to find secrets and ultimately uncover the path to winning the game. It is a very small but dense map, with me only getting lost 4 times or so. The map really encourages you to look in every nook and cranny with how it's laid out, and gets you questioning everything to see if something is hiding or what could possibly be right up there. It's a short, fun, interesting adventure game that has a really good twist ending to it. Super Bogus World 2, an open world minigame extravaganza that I could honestly talk about for a while with just how many games are inside this game, but I'll try my best to condense some of my favorites. First off, you traverse the world in a card to get to each minigame, of which you unlock by playing them and getting medals, of which, of course, is kept tracked on the back of your license plate, letting you further explore the world and its minigames. The game actually has a lot of small things that show your progression or affect the world, like the ad agency minigame where you make billboards will actually show up around the city, or the graveyard, which keeps track of all the people you've run over and killed in games. Funny stuff like that kept me exploring this odd world that just has so much energy and even world building within the minigames, introducing characters and ideas that made me want to play all of them so I could figure out more about these dynamics and who exactly they were. Some of my favorite minigames were the worm matchmaking puzzle, the ASMR drumming, which, yes, is real.
Can you hear the sound of this drum? This is going to produce a crisp sound.
And whatever this is. There are many more minigames, ranging from just dumb interactive toys to full-on experiences of their own. Overall, it's a really interesting and fun way to package small games and projects that I would love to see more of. Although I would not like to see more of this character, because I have the sense of his penis. He has a tiny penis throughout the whole game. Thought I'd warn you, but I don't know, maybe some people like that. Yeah, probably. Now I'm just kind of making myself show more. Okay, I'm gonna stop this bit. Appealing Personality, a dating sim with bananas where you get to speed date a bunch of different candidates, getting to learn their personalities and interests, and maybe even going on a second date or more. Wait. It seems I actually made a mistake here in the script. I didn't mean to say speed dating, I meant to say speed eating. Basically, these bananas are begging for their lives by trying to date you, beg for mercy, or hatch a evil plan of sorts. There's a lot of appealing personalities to check out in this game. Thank you. Thank you. Bad Vibes, a psychedelic boomer shooter where instead of a gun, you shoot energy balls from your hands to kill enemies. There are 3 vibes of which you can choose from, one being an orange standard pistol energy, a blue machine gun energy, and a purple rocket launcher energy. The whole game is basically just a single Doom map that's sort of a maze, with the player trying to find 3 keys and having to kill all the enemies, of which there's only really 2 variety types, one being your kind of classic imp, or in this case, goblin soldiers, and the other one just being a flying creature with one eye that shoots projectiles. Beemis Curse of the God. You are a bee, and you just stung God, and are now cursed with your home being destroyed and all your bee friends dead. So now you must go on an adventure to defeat all the guardians of God before you can get some sweet revenge on him. The whole game has this MS Paint style that makes it seem like it could be a video game from like the home video universe. Each of the levels are short and complete unique, with each one ending with a boss battle. You have the ocean, the forest, factory, and some other locations like the almighty prophet and pond to fish in. Once you're done messing around and do beat all the levels though, it is time to fight God, who is not easy to beat because, you know, he's God. I am brewing you alive, but you can leave at any time if you really want to. This kind of tells what the whole game is, or more experience. All you can really do is just look around, or talk to the witch brewing you, or leave. That's it. On the other hand, there's Caged Birds Don't Fly Caught in a Wire Like a Canary When Called. This title does not describe the game at all, and overall it's hard to even get into what this game is. So instead, I'm just gonna give you the description it has before you download, because I legitimately don't know what to talk about, and honestly, it would be better to go in blind. In dreams, wings unclipped, beaks unburdened by dark songs, cold quips, noise numb, static love, white creased light leaks, purely kept flowers heap, pretty feathers fall asleep, side eyes glare, burn my skin, I cannot escape the way you see me. Xenosphere, future golf platformer. That's it. That's all I really can say or will say, because just trust me, go into this game completely blind. Just know that you're in for a very, very confusing time. Cursed Cusor, a very simply designed game that I feel like could have lasted 10 times longer. Basically, the game is the scary maze game and the hardest game ever put together, but instead of jump scares and moving blocks, you have to deal with gravity, spikes, and this stupid blue gel that makes your cursor bounce around the window. And purple. Oh god, the purple. All these mechanics come together to make a bite-sized, simple but hard game that I honestly wish was longer. And I almost forgot to mention the sound effects and music. Like, everything has reactions and sounds that's dynamic with the gameplay, which really just kind of ties all of it together and makes a really nice package overall. Cement Mixer 2003 and Hendecad. These games are egg-legs, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a game where you just walk around and see weird stuff, and there's no objective. That's all you do. While having two different names, Hendecad is actually a sequel to Cement Mixer 2003. Cement Mixer 2003 is, of course, not about mixing cement, although you do see a couple of cement mixers here and there. You start out in a house that has dozens of doors, but only 2 of them actually open. Every other one just is kind of there. I thought for a really long time that you needed to unlock something or do some kind of task to, unlock these things, but no, it's just 2 areas in the whole game. The first is a cornfield and farm that has like many little sites you can go find, and the second is just a mind-bending complex that is completely made out of concrete that houses these little odd birdmen. Each area has its own secret and things that actually can take you to other areas, but that's really it. You explore these 2 areas until you're bored, and that's that. The second game, Hendecad, is a lot more expansive with this idea and just has so much more to explore and discover when it comes to new locations and secrets. It seems to be a lot more fleshed out than Cement Mixer 2003, with it actually getting you more interested to explore the map compared to the sort of aimless walking around the others. They are both short experiences to get lost in and wander in, so you can just soak in all that atmospheric oddity that it has to present. Photon Highway, a psychedelic endless runner where the player is a car, but not just any car, a car that can split in half. The goal of the game is to, of course, get as far as possible, but also get points by getting close to obstacles and nearly hitting them. The whole game has this great style that is engaging and is honestly one of the main reasons I kept playing, just so I could see the different areas and environments. But unfortunately, I'm horrible at this game, and I only got to like the 3rd area out of a lot. So go check it out and probably do better than me. TimeOut. So you know that one 2011 movie with Justin Timberlake and Cillian Murphy, with everyone having like little flesh green clocks on their forearms that tells them how long they have to live, like, and they're just like born with that? but also it shows like how much money they have because like everything in the world is paid for using that person's time. You remember that really stupid movie? Well, anyways, someone looked at that and said, I'm gonna make a detective noir game out of it and drench it in amazing pixel art and actually make it good. And oh boy, is it good. It's got voice acting, it's got a story, it's got pretty graphics to look at. It has the whole bundle. Trust me, this is a really good game, and especially from, you know, a college student that was like their thesis. Pretty good. Wurroom is a clay-based point-and-click game where I have no idea what's happening at all. No story, no starting text, you're just thrown into it. The game is basically just one big question that you're trying to solve by clicking on stuff and seeing what happens, and most of the time what happens is not anything that you can expect. The game is more of an interactive, abstract claymation film that has amazing fluid movement and impeccable style. It's honestly just a good 10-minute artsy experience to just go into. Waterroom world. You put any, and I mean any, horror game in the bottom of the ocean, it's going to be scary. In this case, it's extra scary due to the fact that the player is trying to search for some evidence of a godlike being that used to be alive millions of years ago and may possibly still reside at the bottom of the ocean. You know, just waiting to be discovered. The game consists of two main parts. Part 1 is exploring the ocean floor and looking for the fish and artifacts to collect and capture. The second part consists of studying the fish and artifacts, uncovering what exactly is going on in the depths of the ocean. Repeat this for a couple times and you got a spooky game that makes me more scared of the ocean than I already am. Whiskey Stones 2007. This is an arcade collectathon where you're doing last-minute Christmas shopping only to be transported into a pocket dimension full of whiskey stones and a bunch of other stuff. Your goal is to speed around with your shopping cart and collect as many whiskey stones before time runs out. The movement is just so smooth with you being able to drift and jump ramps with ease, hopping from each location and filling your cart with as much as you can. It's a very speedy game through and through, and it's just so easy to just do one more run of it while trying to beat your high score every time. I personally got sucked into this game with me playing it until I at least reached the score of 1,000,000, which is not even close to the highest score you can get. The game is just overall fun to replay with you trying to find the most effective and fast pass in this just really unique and open map where you're able to just pull off some Tony Hawk level maneuvers with a shopping cart of all things. Into the Deep Web, a real-time battle RPG where you go into the depths of the web fighting such horrible creatures like Blobman or Bankman. You navigate the deep web through a minesweeper tile where you either land on upgrades or enemies. The battle system consists of dice rolls, with each dice doing a certain action, whether that be attacking, stunning, or shielding, but you don't have any real control over when you use them. They just kind of go linearly in a line. Although you can get special upgrades that can alter your dice and the gameplay, like Bump, which adds +1 to the dice, or Instant, of which lets you bypass the whole linear line thing and just use whatever dice you want. Of course, each of these powers have a cooldown, so you have to be careful and gauge when it's proper to use them. The game, while short, has a lot of mechanics and other upgrades and dice that I didn't even mention. It sort of gives me the same vibes and ideas as Dicey Dungeon, with its simple but fun, in-depth battle system. Job Hunter 9000, a visual novel where you get a weird email for job hunting and happen to click and summon what I can only describe as all of the Tumblr edgy Mary Sue characters put together into one. Now you have to find a job with this magical self-insert by your side, or else you'll be killed and have your eye removed so they can use it due to the fact that they lost it in a harrowing war in the depths of hell. If you can't tell already, this visual novel is basically an overload of cuteness, gore, and all other vitamins that a 2000s edgelord needs. There is a surprisingly lot of depth in it, with one point me actually being genuinely surprised when I was just skipping text to get more footage for this, and it took me down a whole different route that I never even discovered. It's not afraid to be the cringiest it can be, which I think really adds to it, because at points it will be Manny Pixie dreaming all over the place with this dialogue, and then slap you with witnessing eldritch horrors beyond your comprehension. There can only be one, a fun little arcade game where you are your own enemy and downfall. It starts simple with your character just having to kill another little character, and once that's done, you win. At least, that round. Next round, you have to kill 2 little people. But the thing is, one of those other little people is your past self in the last round, and turns out that those bullets that you're shooting in that last round bounce around the room and are able to kill you. Add a couple more rounds and a timer, and you have a pretty fun, simple gameplay loop that gets crazy in a matter of minutes. Hellstar, a shoot-'em-up with resource management. This is such a simple add-on to the shoot-'em-up genre, but really adds a lot of great depth to it. Instead of, just putting your thumb down on the shoot button forever, you instead actually have to think about when you're using your ammo and make sure that you conserve enough. You have 3 main guns, each with different strengths and spreads, that you have to manage to help mow down drones, collect upgrades, and destroy shields so that you can travel to the next level. But that's not all. There are scanners that surround the empty void of space, and if you get in their radius, they'll gather information with how you fight and fly, letting the enemies adapt to your playstyle. So, you always have to change strategies and try to outsmart the drones if you want to survive. The game always keeps you on your toes, with it pushing you to experiment and figure out new ways to play, making it never a bore and always a blast. Fevar Dvd, a fast-paced arcade game where you navigate these tight mazes filled with a bunch of enemies to get a key and then go to the next level. Levels get harder, you go faster, and my brain goes burr. Big lungs and drown. An abstract narrative walking sim that I really don't know how to get into, other than saying that it's basically an interactive poem collection, with there being different chapters to each part, and each one of those chapters having their own atmosphere and unique characters to it. Overall, it has a really great, eerie, relaxing vibe that pairs well to be experienced in a dimly lit room at night with a blanket wrapped around you and a hot beverage of your choice. Tony Hawk's Existential Nightmare. This may possibly be the weirdest one on this list. I got this just because I saw the title and I thought, oh, cool, it's like a weird Tony Hawk fan game. But it turns out it's so much more than that. So I started, and the first thing that is surprising right off the bat is that this game has voice acting. Like, the whole game. And the voice acting is very...
What's the damage, Mom? What's going on?
Dad died in a car accident.
Something. Turns out that this game also has a full story where it takes place in Tony Hawk's childhood, with him being in high school and all the family drama and other stuff he has to deal with. And now, before I get into the rest of this, what would you think a game like this plays like? Like, what's the gameplay? Probably off the top of your head, you would think skating, or, maybe it's more of like a walking sim, or like an interactive, like kind of like immersive sim. It is none of those. It is a Friday Night Funkin' DDR game with its own original music and lyrics. And by original music, I mean copyright-free music, and by original lyrics, I mean, I'll just let the footage talk for itself.
When you're feeling alone, like you're on your own, when the sky looks grim and it hurts within, there's someone you can always call to mend your wound, to break your fall. Skating buds, we're best friends, bad to the bone until the end.
Interlude. You're in a car waiting for some person for a deal, and that's really it. You can look around your car, mess with your phone settings, play Snake, look at the internet, eat some snacks, and just overall wait and watch the road. It's really simple, nothing crazy, but, You know, sometimes that's good, you know? It's really peaceful and, you know, chill, you know? Sometimes it's good to have a breather and be in the moment. Painted Tomb. I really don't know what to say about this or what even is happening, but I think it's about trying to find your son in this weird land. This game is the definition of experience. It's about 6 minutes, and it's just a trip and a half of walking, exploring this world that makes zero sense at all, and I just love it for that. Sanctuarium Online DS. This is a fake DS game where the player is in a used-to-be vibrant world trying to figure out its mysteries and secrets while gaining powers that help them further explore the vast reaches of it. It really has the feeling of being abandoned, with there being these large concrete statues, these deep watery chambers, and temple-like structures that just tower over your character, really giving scale of just how big the world is compared to you. Although it's not completely lacking people, with there being a couple of guys just loathing and reminiscing about how this place used to be, you know, thriving with worship and peace. I also was originally confused why the game was based on the structure of like a DS system, but it surprisingly adds to the whole forgotten aura that it exuberates, adding a whole nother layer of decay to this place without really having to do much. Plus, it also gives me this nice, cozy, nostalgic warmth that I think stops the game from coming off as creepy and more as eerie, which I think helps uplift the exploration of it all and trying to piece together what's left of these ruins. Fumes. Take Mad Max, Burnout, and Twisted Metal all together, and they make the prototype of this amazingly stupid, fun game. In Fumes, you drive around a dusty desert taking out gangs of cars so you can harvest their parts to upgrade your own car, from a rinky-dink rust bucket to a machine of pure destruction that can conquer the wasteland. Put some big bad boss cars in the mix and some fiery explosions, and you have a game that I played for around just 2 hours in one sitting. I legitimately cannot wait for when the full release comes out, which all of you should be wish listing like right now, because so much more is like gonna happen and so many more people should experience the adrenaline rush that is Fumes. Spell Speller. You are a wizard that is traveling through many lands, slaying enemies and trying to learn more magic along the way by typing it out. The only problem is that the spells you cast can only use the letters J, I, K, and L. So if you want to cast something like an acid ball, you have to type out IKJ. And if you want to type something out like a lightning strike, you have to type out a lot more. The game's a bit scuffed and frustrating at times, especially with these stupid ghosts that don't show up in your little radar thing, and the fact that you can misclick the game on the game over screen to the main menu and lose all your progress. But besides that, there's so much to explore and interact with, it kind of makes up for it. There's also just a ton of secrets, whether that be in the map or the spells themselves or just the massive amount of characters there are. So while not the easiest or most approachable at times, it's still an interesting title to trek on with and see what other mysteries lie. Combo Pool. This is Pool and the Suko game put together, and if you don't know what the Suko game is, you do. Everyone was playing it forever. It was like the one with the fruits, or sometimes the shapes, or the countries, or pictures of Taylor Swift. Anyways, you try to knock the balls into each other so they merge until you get to the last ball and win. But if there's too many balls on the table not merged, then you lose. There's an endless mode of which you can, just chase after a high score. And while it's very simple in nature, I feel like this game is a lot better than the Suku game due to the fact it doesn't feel like you're failing because of RNG or wacky physics. Every time I messed up or failed, I felt like it was actually from my actions and not just a game that was a half-broken mess of a trend. Circulate. It is a simple puzzle game with around 120 levels. The levels consist mainly of just rotating this giant spherical, area and trying to put these color balls in their respected cups, at least at the start. There are other levels where you have to get rid of the balls by matching them together, or having to reverse the level with a bomb that explodes if you move it around too much. And that's just the tip of some of the levels. Throughout, there are just dozens of new mechanics being introduced, shaking up the gameplay, whether that be fire and ice balls, black holes, magnets, doors, stop signs that you can stop midair, and just so much more. Then add a simple star system and a timer that gets you going and, striving for high scores, and it makes a pretty fun game. City of Piss. After crossing a desert for days, you finally stumble your way to the golden gates of the legendary City of Piss, which is totally not full of copyrighted characters to talk to, like Mario or PS1 Hagrid. Overall, there's just really a lot of odd and interesting characters that you can just kind of talk to and listen to whatever nonsense they have to say. Game Remake. You are a worker on a farm trying to find all the anomalous cow shapeshifters that are trying to take over. There also happens to be robot soldiers that guard these random kids that just happen to be at the farm and also order you around at night and are always looming over you while you sleep. And then there's like this random guy next to the barn that doesn't trust the businessman guy that's helping you out for some reason. And there's also these girls that come out of nowhere and, are looking for some kind of lost person at the farm, which causes a spiral of questions on top of the already massive amount of questions that this game presents and weird oddities that it has stuffed into it. Or this is just a game about cows and I'm overthinking it too much. Typocrypha. You are a demon hunter and you fight demons by typing. The game at first would seem to be something like Typing of the Dead, but actually it's quite more unique with its approach of using the keyboard for combat. Instead of using the keyboard just to type out what's in front of you, the keyboard instead acts like a spellcaster that you use in real-time battles. You have 3 base attacks, like sword, lance, and a hammer, each being more powerful than the other, but when you use them, they have a cooldown that can take a couple of seconds, or a while, depending on how strong the attack is. But it's not all about typing out random words. There are also prefixes and add-ons to these attacks and moves that expand the strategy of battle, but also make your life harder because the enemies have the same access as you do to these powers. An early example is the cryo prefix, which deals a lot of damage to fire enemies, but if you get hit by it, some of your keys get frozen and you have to tap them multiple times in order to break them and be able to use them again. There are other attacks and moves that do similar things, like Agony, which is a fire attack, which, if hit by, causes some of your keys to type out the same letter twice. Or Vled, which is electricity, and when hit by, 2 of the letters on your keyboards will swap positions. While that all may seem easy at the start, once it all starts coming together, it starts to get crazy, with some attacks being long, run-on sentences of gibberish that can really pack a punch. It also kind of has a story that I imagine will be a lot more fleshed out, but it's basic enough in the demo to shape what kind of world it is and the overall dynamics of the characters, as well as tossing in some nice comedic punches like this stupid troublemaking cat, of which you get the name. And of course, with high respect, I gave it a very proper, I named it Piss. So then, when I was battling it later, I was battling Piss. I know, I'm really mature. Agony of a Dying MMO. You play as a multitude of players in the last couple of hours in a MMO being online. Each character you inhabit takes you to a new area and faction of this MMO world, whether that be the military base of the trolling Nazi faction, or a wholesome ride in a car with a furry. The game really has crafted this world to seem as if it's an actual lived-in place and not just full of NPCs, with there being a live chat and mics just blaring out every which way, chat messages popping up every couple of minutes, and just weird character designs that only some random gamer geek would make. It's fully realized from head to toe, with there being lore galore, with rumors of some kind of urban legend character, and all kinds of speculation and wonder into why exactly the game is shutting down. The game leaves on such an amazing cliffhanger because it's only a demo, but it's still worth the play and is probably my most anticipated game in this list. Pinfell. Basically, it's getting over it with a ball, and if you don't think that that's hard or it looks hard at all, here's a compilation of all the noises I made every time I failed. Oh no! No, 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 no! No! Oh my gosh. Oh my god, man. Ah! No! No! Bread 1 and 2. You are a person and you need bread, so you go to the store to get bread, but a couple things happen to be stopping you from getting that bread. Like literal sorry, I meant to say heck. But person is able to get out of heck and finally get bread. But, of course, that is not the end of our journey, as there is a bread 2. So, it's the same thing, and you go to the store, but wait, the store is closed. But that's okay, because there's a whole city that apparently has been built since the last game to go explore and find bread and do other things in. Overall, Bread 1 and 2 are just dumb and funny little games to experience and laugh at. Infinity Pizza. You are a pizza slicer with a gun, and you're on a mission to cut, slice, and shoot your way through this seemingly never-ending pizza. But that mission will not be easy, with all of the obstacles and challenges that lie within the infinite pizza. There are great walls of cheese to dodge, and tomatoes to kill to stop you from your endless journey. And also, the pizza itself has some other interesting tactics up its sleeve, like speeding up over time while you dive deeper into it, and, my favorite, bouncing your bullets back at you if they hit a wall, of which was not a problem at all that I had many times and thought was a glitch until I realized what was actually happening. Anyways, it's a nice, meaty and cheesy endless runner that you'll always want another bite of. Frame of Mind, a minimalistic, mind-breaking perspective-based puzzler with each area of the game defining reason and requiring you to think outside the box in order to escape the madness that you've happened to be plopped into. It has a really amazing puzzle design, which I would put on the level of the original Portal, and it's overall just a refreshing perspective of the puzzle-solving genre. Don't Make Love, a dating sim where you play as a praying mantis couple who don't want to make love due to the whole biting the head off the male thing. You can play either as the male or the female in this game, and unlike most dating sims or dialogue-heavy games like this, you actually get to type out your responses instead of choosing them from a given list, which makes the game very open-ended and fun to explore, although, of course, some of the responses don't always fit with what you said, which can be expected, and kind of gives me that vibe of, you know, the Facade game and kind of how it radiates the campy aesthetic and, you know, isn't always serious. That's not to say that this game cannot be serious at some points, and actually has some really heartfelt moments and actual choices that you have to think on. Or you can be like me and just type a bunch of bullshit to see how the game reacts to your stupidity. Hype. You are some kind of experimental sentient line that can guide and boost its way around. As the line, you are trying to bust out of the lab that you're trapped in, and you just speed through the facility trying to find the keys and ultimately an exit. But of course, there's some security that gets in the way of that escape. And by getting in the way, I mean it's more just an annoyance because they can't really kill you. Everything just kind of knocks you around, and that's really it, which may seem stupid until you realize that this game is yet another speedrunning game. It's not super hard to speed through this game, but there's a challenge that kind of comes in with getting all these hearts that are scattered around the map, so you can show off to everyone that you're not only fast, but a collector. No Skin. This is a turn-based horror roguelike where you explore a house that has some interesting folks and foes living in it. It has everything a roguelike needs, with a punishing but simple battle system, a wide variety of characters ranging from a killer emo girl to a storekeeper fishman, and a progression system with upgrades and a whole lot of new characters that adds so much variety to each run. Lastly, add a couple mysterious overarching storyline beats, sprinkle it with some great environments, art, and music, and this game is one step away from being a full release on Steam. Honestly, I'm really excited to see if this developer goes farther with this game, as it's been popping off recently, so definitely keep an eye on this title. Autoball. Every 10 seconds, a ball is fired onto the board. Your job is to place, move, and upgrade pegs and cannons, score as many points as possible. Basically, it's reverse Peggle, and it is so addicting, especially with just how it's made endless, with having to, make sure your points never dip below 0, but of course, everything costs points, even the balls being fired, which slowly increment over time, making you actually, have to try to strategize and adapt your plays over time to make sure, you're in the positive. Or you can just, hope and pray that your ball will bounce around and you can, keep going. I am a tree and you are not. Haha. This is an RPG Maker game where you are a worm wanting to be a tree. But before you become a tree, you must change into many other things, like a bladder or a walking ass, in order to survive the cruel world that you've happened to crawl your way onto. Just looking at the game, you can probably guess its vibe, with it kind of pulling inspiration from other RPG Maker games like Space Funeral and Hylix with its style and form of writing. Overall, it's a fully self-aware, stupid game that revels in its immature nature. CryoHazard. This is a Game Boy point-and-click game that screams low-budget B-horror sci-fi. You wake up from cryosleep to discover that you're in some kind of facility that is roaming with monsters and freaks alike. Your job is to figure out what in the world is happening and how you got there by exploring the many rooms and desolate areas of this mysterious place, and piece together the sinister nature of it all that is lurking all around you. Murder Dog 4, Trial of the Murder Dog. Murder Dog has finally been caught for his many crimes and now has to defend himself in order not to get the death sentence. Of course, though, it's not going to be easy to get this dog out of the doghouse due to the mountains of evidence against him and, the whole fact about being called the Murder Dog. So, do you think you have what it takes to prove this obvious, crazed maniac killer is somehow innocent by abusing the law? Well, you'll have to find out yourself. And with that, that is the last and 50th game on this list. Again, if you want to check out any of these games, they're all linked in the description below with all the time codes and all that other jazz. And if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I spent way too much time on this. Because, I honestly just like making stuff and making videos. There's no real other reason to that. I have a lot of other things, in my backlog and other ideas that I'm wanting to tackle that aren't just like this. Some more serious video essays, sketches, music, and some other wild big ideas out there. So if you want to, go along with me on this weird journey of, randomness, creation, consider subscribing if you want to. I'm probably gonna go now because I got like 10 other scripts I have to write. Why do I do this to myself? Jesus. Anyways, bye.